You have items in your craft stash that are neglected and unused, but you can't bear to get rid of them? Welcome to Use It or Lose It, a weekly YouTube series where I'll dive into the products that you have lying around in your craft room and the products I have lying around in mine. After I've created something, I'll decide if I think I'll use it again or if it needs to give up that precious space in my stash, and I hope you'll play along. Hey guys, it's Jen, and welcome to challenge number 4 for stash busting week. Remember yesterday I told you to hang on to the packaging from whatever you used up. Well, today we're going to use packaging on a layout. That is the challenge. And the scrapbook supplies that are out now have lots of cute things on their packaging, so this should be a fairly easy task, but I also want to show you some ways that I like using packaging. I love the texture of certain things, and I want to show you that. So first of all, I am going to incorporate some of this into my layout. I might just cut up certain pieces, like maybe where this gold part is, but if not, this makes a really good way to add dimension to the back of something without having to use up foam squares, so you can think about stuff like that. I also kept these little pieces. This is a transparency piece that was part of the Paige Evans Pink Paisley page kit that I used in the Facebook Live video, and it has a piece of plastic on the outside of the plastic. And so is this. There were little word strips that you could punch out of this. And this kind of thing is the perfect texture for layers behind photos. So I love stuff like this. I'm going to use this photo of some flowers because they're colorful and I can use a lot of different stuff on this, and it will just be fun to layer things up, and it's a story I want to get told anyway. I wanted to show you some other packaging things that I might be using. So this is the Ellie Studio packaging, and this little thing right here this little flag could be used even if you just have a little bit of it poking out, or if you put a sticker over the top of that would work great. This is the bottom of a Maggie Holmes crepe paper packaging, and it's got the gold edge and it's scalloped, so that's super cute. A lot of packaging has printing in the background, so you can see this one by K & Company has this kind of floral printed in the background. Felicity Jane has these cute borders on her packaging and the polka dot at the top that you can use. Pink Fresh Studio has a striped background on this one. Freckled Fawn has a different kind of striped background. Here's another Felicity Jane. This is one from the kit that I put together that I might use. I love this scallop here, and even the word bliss could be used. I think, I'm not going to use this one, but I think this could be cute if you cut that up. This is cute. Now this is something that I have in my little kit over here, and I haven't used it all yet, but I might poke these out because I really like the idea of using this gold as a border for the photo. Look how cute this would be. I can just cover that part up. Some of the bottom will poke out. Things can shine through. Even if I just use it as a layer, I don't know. I'm going to try to figure out a way to incorporate it because I really like it. So that's where I'm starting. I'll go ahead and put you on fast forward and talk you through my process. Alright, so to get started, I'm going straight to that My Mind's Eye chipboard piece that I wanted to use as a border behind my photo. So I'm just poking out all of those little faux buttons, and I'm just going to kind of rip off the backing because I don't care what the back looks like really. And in fact, after I do all this, I will end up ripping a few layers from the chipboard to make it a little bit thinner. But for now, what I decided to do, I wanted to put some powder on the back so it wasn't sticky, and I was getting too impatient with just using the brush, so I just dumped some on it and it got everywhere, which is fine. I love the smell of baby powder anyway, but now I'm just trying to see how I want to layer it behind the photo. If I want those little pieces poking out at the top or the bottom, I'm not sure yet. And I'm grabbing some of the other pieces of packaging that I had wanted to use and just kind of layering them up behind my photo. You'll see in a minute here, I'm going to grab some pattern paper and stuff to make it look like it's more of a layout and not just packaging. I think that's the key here, is to incorporate the packaging but also use some pattern papers. The packaging has wonderful textures and awesome like little peekaboo areas and stuff, which I love, but I also want it to not look like I put garbage on a page. So I'm using the word moments from this Maggie Holmes chipboard set. I have looked at that so many times. I don't know how many times I've gone over it and said, that'd be cute, and it never works. But here, the flowers are all different colors, and I thought this would be a good way to use that title, and that will be kind of my color scheme for the layout. So I'm just going to do the word moment because I'm going to have another word in my title, and I decided that I didn't need that S. And so now I am going to, you saw me rip off the back of that piece of chipboard as well, just to make it a little bit thinner. And I'm going to kind of start creating some layers behind the photo. So I'm going to kind of make an L-shaped design. This is something I do a lot when I have a single photo that's vertical. I'll put some pieces behind it that go and make it into an L shape. So it's the vertical part, and then the papers and layers go out to the side of it. And I wanted to use that, it's not washi tape, but it's like a roll of paper that has gold foil hearts on it. And so I used that as kind of a grounding piece for my title and put it behind the photo cluster. And now I want to incorporate this little border that is from the top of a My Mind's Eye sticker sheet. There's a little pink scallop, and so I'm going to stick that to the side of the photo. It's a cute little element. I decided to punch out the word bliss in case I wanted to use it on the layout. I don't end up using it, but I think you definitely could if that word worked for your layout, but it didn't work this time. That's fine. So that's a sticker, that little border strip, and I just kind of put it against my arm so that it would get a little less sticky. And now I'm layering up some patterned papers because I want that border strip to the left of the photo, but I want some other stuff in behind it first. So I kind of put it to the side while I figure out some other stuff I want to incorporate. So I wanted to put some yellow here because there's some yellow in the flowers and it's a good pop of color. And so I just used this little piece of a scrap, and I'm just going to put it behind the photo. And you can see me kind of, I cut it in half, but it looks like it's carrying over to the other side of the photo. I do that a lot when I'm working with scraps. And then I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I might want to incorporate, but I'm going to go ahead and put that sticker down for now. And I'm going to put that piece that I punched all of those word strips out of, I'm going to put that to the right of the photo. And that has a lot of the colors of the photo in it as well. And I really like that. And I love the way when there's holes in things that you can see through to the other elements. It gives nice layering texture. So this little stripe that I'm using right now is the top of a crepe paper sticker sheet. I just cut the little stripy border off, and it's going to be at the top and the bottom of my layout. And I just like that pop of black, and I'll bring another pop of black in later. So you can see that word moment fits perfectly on that little strip there. And now I am using this Maggie Holmes, it's from a Maggie Holmes like ephemera pack, or I can't remember exactly what, but it had this little scalloped border on the bottom of it that I cut off and kept to use. And so I'm using that at the top with the border strip, kind of just to create another little cluster at the top to balance all of the stuff going on the bottom. After I put that on, I realized how crooked it was, and I'll go back and fix it here in a second. But right now I'm looking for some other elements that I can incorporate. I'm thinking about using the word bliss, and then I do like the way these chipboard buttons look, kind of, and so I'm thinking about that as well. So since they're just sitting there, I do incorporate some later. So this is the top of a Thickers package, and it had that cute gold foil honeycomb pattern, and so I'm going to use that as well. Here's where I'm fixing the very, very crooked scallop border at the top. And now I'm going to play around with this little piece that I cut from the chipboard set. So I really like the row like that. I think it would be cool to put your journaling inside of it. And I'm just kind of trying to decide where that could go. And in the end, I kind of force it on. I feel like the layout would have been fine without it, but I think it looks okay with it too. So what I decided to do is create a shaker pocket. So I'm using some more packaging, that plastic piece, and I'm going to glue it to this little chipboard piece. So I'm using my Nuvo glue, and it is really strong. It worked well to hold that adhesive on. So I'm going to let that dry, on that plastic, and then I'm going to put some foam around the edges, and that's going to kind of create my little like home for my glitter and some little beads that I'm going to stick inside of it. So at first I was just using some double-sided sticky foam, but after that it wasn't sticking to the plastic, and so I decided to use my Nuvo glue, and I'm going to use some fun foam, and the Nuvo glue is just going to help hold that fun foam on. It's more of a strong adhesive than the adhesive that was on the back of the foam to begin with, and so I just cut some thin pieces of fun foam for this instead, and I think that worked a lot better. So here you can see I'm just putting that last piece on this, and I did pour in the glitter before I figured out that it was not going to work the first way. So I'm putting a block on top to let it dry, and then I'll come back to it and add my glitter and my little beads, micro beads, you can see there. And then I'm going to add more glue to the top of the foam, and then I will put a piece of paper on the back of it, and then I'm going to put that block back on top, and I'll come back to that later. So I'm just letting that dry. So I really like the way this looked above the word moment. It's nice and black, and it looks really great with it. And then there was this on the travel sheet, it said sending love from, and these flowers were a bouquet that my mother-in-law sent me, and she was in Ghana at the time. She sent me them for Mother's Day, so it was a big surprise. So I'm just going to do sending love from Ghana, and I was going to use those wood grain alphabets, but I decided to use these crepe paper ones instead that I remembered I had thrown in my box, and they match the sending love perfectly and bring in another little bit of gold, so I really like the way that looks. This little Felicity Jane sticker sheet is something I pulled out for the packaging aspect, but I liked the arrow, so I decided to let myself use it. You guys can do whatever you want, right? It's your project. So even if you didn't stick it in your box and you feel like you need it, that's okay. I liked that chipboard piece. That's a pink paisley piece that was on a chipboard set I did have in my box, and I like the way that it brings in the colors. I'll end up switching it out later, but it does give me that idea. I remembered that in my box I had this word lovely that was also black, and it's an acrylic piece, and it's just like one piece. I didn't know when I would use it, and I felt like the word like lovely moment was a good title as well, and because I knew I could find anywhere to use the word this, I decided to use lovely instead, even though the word this did look pretty good. So I'm going to use that acrylic piece instead, and then I'm using this little piece, which is a die cut from Studio Calico that was thrown in my box, and it's going to point to the word lovely. And I'll use that heart piece, which is another part of that little that little die cut, and I'll use that at the top to kind of bring the color up. So I'm using a little piece of Studio Calico packaging now that I just ripped up. It has a grid pattern on the back of the packaging, and I liked that, and I just ripped it for a little extra texture. And now I'm using some of those buttons, those chipboard buttons, and scattering them around. I really like the way they look at the bottom especially. And so I'm just kind of going through my stuff, trying to figure out some different things. I want to add another pop of black since the word lovely is so heavy. I do have a little bit of black at the top and bottom with that stripe, but not a lot. So I'm checking to see if my glitter little concoction is ready to go yet. I'm going to cut off the edges. It does kind of spill out a little bit, and so I'm going to come back to you here and show you it close up and explain to you kind of what I did to fix my little mistakes. It's not perfect, but anyway, you'll see. I wanted to show you guys this thing finished. I was a little bit too impatient, and I ended up like, I didn't wait for the glue to dry completely, and then it wasn't sticking exactly, so I stapled around the entire thing with gold staples, which I think looks kind of cool. You can tell it's definitely not like perfect, but the whole thing is packaging anyway, so it's not going to be perfect. So they're staying in there, and I'm going to use this right here and use that as a little embellishment, or maybe to house my journaling. So I just wanted to show you that a little bit up close before I put it in. So after I went to all the trouble of making that, I'm feeling like now it doesn't quite fit on the layout. It's poking out above the photo, and that's really bugging me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some layers of paper above the photo to kind of help that have more of a home. It feels out of place where it is right now, and so this will help it feel like it fits in a little bit more. In the end, I do feel like the layout could have done fine without it, but I went to all the trouble of making it, so I included it, and I think it looks okay with it on there, so I was happy with that. So again, just creating some layers above the photo so that that has somewhere to rest that doesn't look so out of place to me. I'm thinking about using these little arrows that were part of the chipboard set as well, but I don't end up including them. I think I could have, but no, I did not. So now I'm kind of thinking like, what am I going to do? So I didn't have another button that I liked from the chipboard buttons to put at the top, so I decided to use this circle, which was from a Maggie Holmes chipboard set thrown in my box, and I will end up making it into a button, and you'll see that in a little bit here. So I'm going through some of my die cuts and picking out some of the little word strips that came from that packaging that's to the right of the photo, and I'm going to incorporate some of those. I like them at the top. They help to bring the color up there, and I think it's cute. And then this little one that says sending love is also from that Paige Evans page kit too. I'm thinking about what to do on my, I'm like this whole time I'm thinking about what am I going to do with that little glittery area. It can't just sit there. It needs something. But I just don't quite know. So I just poked holes in that chipboard piece to make it into a button, and I will sew those buttons down in a minute here. I decided that this top side needed a little bit more, and so I added this little piece of kind of a greenish blue, and then I'm kind of ruffling up the edges to give it a little bit more texture. I had some beads and glitter on it, so I just kind of tapped off the layout so that it would, all of the glitter would fall off of it. Glitter gets everywhere, guys. It just does. So I'm putting those word strips at the top to bring in that color, that pop. And now I am going to put down my little button pieces. These are adhesive backed, but I just was poking out the little holes in the middle with my scissors to get so that I could actually stitch through them. And I'm using some sticky dots to glue this other button down because I ripped off some layers so it was the same dimension as the other buttons. It was a little bit thicker. And now I'm just taking a needle and some black thread that I had on my desk, and I just stitched those buttons down. And I'm thinking I should use this little floral piece that's from the same Maggie Holmes chipboard set that the word moment came from, and I really like the way the floral looks, but then it doesn't match with the other floral. And so I'm thinking, what should I do? Do I get more of the florals from the Paige Evans kit, or do I go with this floral? I'm gonna mess around for a bit before I decide that I'm gonna go with the Maggie Holmes chipboard piece because it's cream and some of the other elements are as well, and they just all match together, and I like that. So I'm going to go ahead with that. So I also use this Hello Lovely, and that's going to help tie, because I overlapped it on the photo, those layers, and on that little gold thing, I am helping to unify it, and I feel like it really helped to tie that piece into the layout. And then I will put the bow on top of it as a little design element, and I think it looks really cute. That little word surprise came from a chipboard set from Pink Paisley that was thrown in my box, and it definitely was a surprise. I'm still thinking about I need a pop of black at the top. Even though the Hello Lovely has black on it and I have the black stitching, it's just not quite as heavy as the word lovely, so I was just thinking that I might need something. But I'm going to go ahead and glue down this floral chipboard piece, and I realized as I glue it down that I just covered up the edge of that paper tape roll that I had stuck there, so I'm just going to rip off another piece and just kind of slide it under so that it looks like it continues a little bit further, and I like the way that looks. So now I'm going to do my journaling, and I'm using is it a Pentel envelope addressing pen? I really love these pens, they're awesome. And I just drew some lines, and I'm writing a few lines of journaling about how I was surprised to get that in the mail from my mother-in-law in Ghana. And I'm going to stamp the date, and I stamped it in a little space that's part of, it's there's a plastic piece of packaging there, and there was a little space, and I think it looks really cute. So I'm still thinking about incorporating a little bit of black, and then I'm trying to decide if I need it. I kind of liked that little hand pointing, but I think I go against it. Or maybe I add it back in. I can't remember at this very second. But here I am just ruffling up the edges, and I wanted to add in that little paper clip. I felt like because this was a really piecey layout, the paper clip worked well here. And that's just going to be my final touch after a staple. So here are some close-up photos. I hope that you'll take on this challenge of using your packaging. There's so many bits of lovely packaging nowadays, and it's just a fun challenge. It's not something you would normally do, but it's just kind of a fun little thing to push yourself with. So thanks so much for watching. Please share your projects in the Facebook group if you want to be entered to win the big prize at the end of all of these challenges. And here you can check out a couple other videos in this series. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you back here again very soon.